Let's stay in the Big Ten for a second because Penn State also has Ohio State coming up on the schedule. I believe that's November 12th when they play one another. Penn State can't beat Ohio State. They can't beat Michigan over the last couple of years. That's the only two teams they have not been able to knock off. But they got USC on the road this weekend. Is this Penn State team any different than any of the teams that we've seen over the last couple of years? They should make the playoffs this year because it's expanded to 12 teams. But once again, the importance of winning on the road at USC, knowing that you got Ohio State coming up a little bit later on in the schedule.
Yeah, I believe that this Penn State team has the capability of being better. I think Drew Aller's looked more confident at quarterback this year. Andy Kotelnicki, the offensive coordinator they brought over from Kansas, has been allowed to do some of the same creative things on offense that we saw in Lawrence. And so you've seen some of the wonky formation, certainly plenty of window dressing before the snap, but it's created more explosive opportunities down the field early. They're still not a dynamic top-end passing offense yet, but they haven't had to be. And I don't think this weekend they're going to have to be either. USC still giving it up on the ground. We saw against Minnesota, they gave up almost 190 yards. Against Michigan, almost 300 yards with no threat of the pass to go along with it. And so I think Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, that's going to be enough in the backfield to get it done for them in this game. But I do think this is an opportunity in a big-time stage against a new conference opponent. You got to flex a little bit of that muscle in the passing game because people like me are still going to hold out the jury until I see them against Ohio State and what that looks like against the upper crust of the Big Ten that they just haven't been able to crack lately.
Yeah, Drew Aller's looked much better this season throwing the football downfield. Like you said, Kotelnicki has got the team throwing the football down the field this year. But once again, Drew Aller's looked good against all other teams outside of the big games, against the Michigans and the Ohio State. See what he does against USC and that defense coming up. But Penn State on defense, once again, you can't do what you did against Illinois where you had a huge lead and then almost lose it as well. So that's one of the things that they got to look out for as well. I want to talk to you about Colorado. I know everybody still talks about the Colorado. I know they're not a ranked team. They got a huge game against Kansas State coming up this weekend at home. Colorado starting to put it together. Coach Prime, the guys, they've won 3 in a row. I got a lot of flack, Mike, and I probably deserved it, but I looked at as I have an AP vote. I picked Colorado the first 2 weeks, and I picked them number 25 in AP voting. It was based on what I expected the team to be this year. And I expect the team to be much better than the team that finished the season losing 8 of the last 9 games last year. Didn't quite work out that way. They got blown out by Nebraska, but they've looked so much better since then. From what you've seen out of this Colorado team, how is this team different from last year, and do you give them any inkling of a chance against Kansas State at home this weekend?
I do. I think the team is much improved defensively from a personnel standpoint and just their overall execution on that side of the football. I think, we talk about Travis Hunter because he's a two-way star and a Heisman candidate, and we're so obsessed with Shedeur on the offense. I think we've kind of neglected to tell the story that, hey, statistically, they're not world beaters on defense. But, man, compared to what we watched last year on that side of the football for Colorado, that's an outfit that has its stuff together finally, and it showed. Now, it's going to get a steep test going up this weekend against Kansas State. Kansas State top 10 in rush yards per game going up against a team that's bottom half of college football in Colorado on defense. But on the other side, Kansas State's back end hasn't been tested by a passing attack like Colorado's got. So it's really what flavor of ice cream. It's almost, Mike, I think of it like an NBA game where it's 2s versus 3s in this one. And so it's going to be incumbent on, hey, can this Kansas State passing offense muster anything to keep pace with Colorado on offense? Because Shedeur Sanders is another guy who's looked great this year. His work in the pocket and the poise that he's had behind an offensive line that has done a slightly better job of protecting him, but he still has to go out there and earn so much of what they're going to do offensively, along with Travis, who's managed to stay healthy and be effective both ways. So, yeah, I do think that team deserves a lot of credit for how they've improved, and I'm fascinated to see what this game is like because these teams couldn't be more opposite.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku Channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.